very good evening to everyone and welcome to our event, Imagine and Read the Business of Fashion. They say fashion is the armor to survive the reality of life, and given the current times, I am sure there were moments when we all wanted to dress up even though there was no occasion. We are extremely happy to have amongst us two very formidable authorities in the fashion industry, Gaurav Gupta and Devangi Parekh. Gaurav Gupta is one of the most celebrated couture designers in India and a global name on the rise. With over 15 years in the fashion industry, his collections have been seen in various red carpet appearances internationally and have been worn by eminent personalities like Lady Victoria Harvey, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, and Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. Devangi Parekh is the creative director at Azhar Fashions, India's premier destination for luxury apparel. She launched azharfashions.com, the company's global e-commerce platform, which retails over 400 Indian designers and has serviced clients in more than 75 countries worldwide. We also have with us our moderator for today, Aditi Jain Parekh, a fashion entrepreneur and founder of the Fashion Edit and White Lily. Aditi is also the founder chairperson for YFlow Ahmedabad and the current Flow Secretary Ahmedabad. So, members, before we begin the event, I would like to call upon Flow Kanpur's chairperson, Dr. Aarti Gupta, to give the welcome speech.
Thank you, Shubha. Coco Chanel famously said, "Fashion is not something that exists in dresses only. Fashion is in the sky, in the street. Fashion has to do with ideas, the way we live, what is happening." A very good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I am so happy to have each one of you join us today for a discussion on the business of fashion. In the last few months, we all have had to go back to the drawing board of our lives and have had to reboot ourselves. Just like our own selves, industries have also had to revolutionize themselves, and the fashion industry is no exception. A number of you joining us today either work directly in the fashion industry as designers or are entrepreneurs curating your own show or are store owners. Fashion is an integral part of each one of us, even for someone like me who is just a shopper. And all of us have these looming questions about what is the way forward for fashion. Are people going to spend so much on clothes like they used to? How are multi-designer stores going to survive? What are the business practices that are going to change? And how can we better adapt ourselves to adapt to this new normal? To understand these changes and help us identify what are the best trends in the industry, we have amongst us two leading experts from the Indian fashion industry, Gaurav and Devangi. A very warm welcome to you. I would now like to call upon Aditi to take the discussion forward.
A very warm welcome to you, Gaurav and Devangi. We're very pleased to have you with us. Hi, Gaurav. I don't know if you recollect and recognize, but we can't hear you.
I remember you, of course. Hi, how are you?
How are you? So
you
I'm
just
so
told me
happy.
for your 40th birthday, was it? Or was it?
That's right,
your
that's
35th?
right.
Okay, I just announced your age. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine. So glad to have you. And of course, I'll take it forward from here. So Gaurav does not design clothes, he designs dreams.
Oh, that's
You
so
make
sweet. That's true,
every
actually.
woman, you do make every woman look like a dream, and you did that for me on several occasions. Like many others would feel the same. Wearing your garments, it feels magical and right out of a fairy tale, frankly. You know, it's a work of art, really. Before I begin, I would request Aarti to open the conversation, and then I'll, of course, take it forward.
Sure. Thanks, Aditi. So, Gaurav,
Hi, Aarti.
Hi, how are you? So glad
Good, how
to
are
have you here with us.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Yes. So my first question takes you back to your initial days, So in 2000, you graduated from Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design and were instantly recognized as the future of couture. Over a decade later, Gaurav Gupta, the man and the brand, have carved the world that is future primitive, reflected through sculpture-like garments and with a sense of infinity and rhythm. Can you tell us something about how this journey into the fashion began? Like, did you always want to be a part of the fashion world?
Yes, I don't know actually. I always wanted to do something creative, and I always knew I'm very creative. I used to do sculpture and a lot of art in school. I flunked my sixth standard in school, and when I flunked my sixth standard, my best friend tell me, is like, my report card is quite iconic because it was like English, Hindi, Math, Science D, and Art, Music, Dance A+. So it was quite a contrast thing, and I was always very, very artistic. And I think then I became fine, and I taught business studies in school, etc. as well later on. So I was fine with studies as well. But I was always interested in the arts, and for me, art is not just it's everything. It's music, it's dance, it's fashion, it's design, it's product design, it's architecture. It's so for me, design and art amalgamate in many different forms, and I have done lots of theses on is fashion and art and things like that as well. So the thing is, it was very natural for me to enter the creative field, and then I got through NIFT, which is one of the best colleges of fashion in India. So my dad allowed me to do fashion, and then I got through St. Martin's, which I graduated in 2003 actually, and then I just became like the blue-eyed boy. I was getting awards when I was in NIFT. I got awards in Japan and Russia. And then when I was in London, I was working with like my dream designer, Hussein Chalian, who's super cool and super conceptual. And he's from London, and he's Turkish. And he's really, really cool. Like, him and McQueen were compared a lot of times. And then I did some projects with like Vivienne Westwood, McQueen, Stella McCartney, things like that. And I was living like, and then I won some awards in Italy, London, all of that. So I've literally been like on a high constantly. And I have been surprised with my own journey, because I think I've been such a conceptual person and such a conceptual designer that I think it's been like, I have literally created a market. The thing is, I have played with a culture. I have played with the mindscape of a culture, and that's what gives me a high. It's not just the sales or the numbers or the business that gives me a high, but the success of making something very conceptual into a commercially viable brand, and a brand which is desired by Indians and international people equally, and something that people want to spend money and wear and not just appreciate from a distance, has been a long journey for me. It's like defying so many things. Like, I had to defy like people when I was here back 15 years back, is when I launched my brand. People were only wearing the same lehengas with borders and booties, and I remember like going to departmental stores and seeing like, okay, would you keep my clothes? And my clothes, they used to be like, I was like an alien for them. They were like, okay, I still look like an alien to a lot of people, but I was like an alien to them. Like, okay, what is this jersey dress? And for them at that time, jersey was hosiery in India, and people didn't even wear jersey tops or dresses. So it's like a lot has changed, and I was talking a completely different language. And I think I'm happy to kind of have pioneered this movement of progressive global Indian design in India, and open a sense of conceptual wearable fashion.
We're so glad you spoke that language, and we all got access to these beautiful pieces of couture that you designed. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Gaurav, of course, we know you wowed the women with your designs, but I also know that you have forayed into the jewelry designing, and you, of course, are wooing women with their best friend, which is the diamonds. We'll come back to you with that later, but I will, of course, give a warm welcome to Devangi as well. Devangi, we're delighted to have you. She's a very young and a dynamic girl, heading India's premium chain of stores, Azza Fashions. Aarti, once again, I would like you to take up the first question on maybe about how she's gone into the fashion stores. How did she start her journey? So, Aarti.
Sure. Hi, Devangi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today.
So happy to have you here. So Devangi, again, we wanted to hear where you started this journey into fashion from. Any industry, whenever there is a next gen entering the business, and you are the next gen into the Azza fashion business, there are new ideas for growth and innovation. And I believe it was you who launched the e-commerce platform for Azza. Tell us a little bit about how you brought about these changes, because I know I'm an next gen into a business and it's not that easy, entering a business and ordering changes.
Yeah, so I actually spent a lot of my life in the United States. I went to boarding school there. I went to Cornell for undergrad. I studied business. And at that time, I was very clear that I would either pursue a career in finance or consulting. And then I actually worked with Deloitte Consulting in New York in their strategy and operations team. And while I was there, I was doing all these like very financy projects. And I had this thought at the back of my mind that I really just want to explore this creative field. Meanwhile, my mom was founding Azza, of course, with the stores in Mumbai and Delhi. And I had lived in the United States for 14 years. And I was spending all my free time really just researching the retail industry worldwide and looking into what are these new models that are coming in. So there were a few e-commerce models that were really exploding at the time. And luxury was sort of at the helm of going online, where certain brands were still very conscious of like not wanting to be online. And a lot of other brands were like, we need to go, head first into the strategy, the digital strategy. Yes. So I knew I was going to go to business school. And 2 years before I went to business school, I moved back to India. I worked with my mom at Azza. And that's where I really got a great understanding of the immense depth and talent that India has to offer in design. And I thought that there is no place like this in the world where designers are offering so much value for the hand craftsmanship that they are offering. So I had this idea that I really wanted to take the brand online and create this platform, this global platform for our Indian designers to sort of ship across the world. So when I went to business school at Wharton, I was pretty clear that this is what I'm going to do after I graduate. And while I was at Wharton, I actually interned with two amazing designers. I worked with Joseph Altazara, who had won the Woolmark Prize, and I did a project in Milan with Moschino. So that gave me a really interesting perspective into how designers sort of work and the business side of, and in both places I worked with the CEO. So I got a good understanding of like the business of fashion and how to sort of take that creativity that, that Gaurav was mentioning and sort of make a business out of it and push it across the world. So when I moved back to India in 2014, I planned out our entire digital strategy, which of course involves our e-commerce platform, azzafashions.com, as well as our entire digital strategy, which includes like social media and reaching out to consumers across all the different platforms. I think now consumers everywhere identify brands not only as a place physically to shop, but more as a personality that they can identify with and that they resonate with. And sort of just creating that omni-channel strategy for Azza has been what I've been working on over the last 3 years.
That's brilliant. I'm sure your family is really lucky to have you back and help them grow this business. Great. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you, Aarti.
1 second. Hi, Devangi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
She's
How are
the
you?
beauty with the brains, basically. Look at her, and she's doing all finance kind of things in New York. So cool.
I have to say that Gaurav is, what you mentioned is so extremely talented. He had actually done my cocktail outfit for my wedding. And I knew that so the theme was Palace of Illusions. And I knew that the only person that I can go to is Gaurav, who can create like a vision and just make it larger than life. And he's just one of the most talented designers in the world, I would say.
Oh, thank you. And that picture remains with me forever. I think you need to frame it and send it to me or something. It's too beautiful.
I totally agree with you, Devangi. I've had a similar experience. So yes, I can vouch for it. So I think, Gaurav, way back in 2010, you had said that you wanted to change the face of saris, and you did. Mm-hmm. Merging indigenous Indian construction and embellishing techniques with your idea of the future. You've created a product that is Indian at its core and boundless in its form. What inspires to blend in the tradition and futuristic forms so elegantly?
So, when I just came back to India, and my first show was in 2006. Yeah, in 2006. And that was like, I blasted on the scene, like the blue-eyed boy. Like, I don't have blue eyes though. But anyways, it was like, at the newspaper, the front page of the newspaper said the most awaited the most awaited show of Fashion Week, etc. So I got all this hype from my first show, and I was not getting much sales out of the kind of product that I was doing, because what the product I was doing was very, very Western and very, very, I don't know, round cut trousers and whatnot, etc. So I realized immediately, like, I took a deep breath and I said, I am in India, I should accept it. And then I looked at the most obvious thing which was in front of me was the sari back in 2006, 2007. And my second show itself, which in fact, Deepika, etc., were still models. And I remember Deepika wearing my beautiful chikankari sari, which had patches of satin and different things like that. So I started exploring my take on the sari, because up till then, and I love the traditional Indian saris, don't get me wrong, but I think I could not, they're just so beautiful. I feel like they are so beautiful, and that's the way it is. But then it was the mixing of Gaurav Gupta, the conceptual mind, and the traditional sari, which is the only costume in the world which survives. People don't wear kimonos in Japan. People don't wear togas in Greece. People wear saris in India since thousands of years. It is a part of our DNA and part of our culture. So when I started looking at the sari, I started being playful with it. I started knotting it on the shoulder, broaching it, pleating it. I was just being my playful self, and then came a whole new aesthetic. I gave birth to a whole new culture almost, and a cultural aesthetic and a cultural mindscape, where the word hybrid started existing. Before that, it was always Indo-Western, and Indo-Western meant tunic or kurti or things like that. So then came a whole new design language about the concept sari or the hybrid sari. Then I invented the sari gown in 2010 for my first couture show. So the sari, the concept saris or the knotted sari or the Grecian saris then evolved into the sari gowns. Then I made it more convenient for people who could just do it with a zip. So many foreigners who get married to Indians, they wear my sari gowns. There's so many Indian girls who are so globally well-traveled, etc., and said that, oh, we can't tie the sari. They started wearing the sari again. And there's so many women who came up to me and said that, we had stopped wearing the sari, and we are starting to wear the sari because of what you have done to the sari. So I was literally like going crazy having this cultural dialogue with all my clients. And I feel like I'm playing table tennis with the clients. Like, okay, I'll give you this much, and like, okay, fine, what do you think? And it's literally like that. And my clients and the girls, women felt so confident, so sexy. And it's so sexy doesn't mean that you have to show skin. It's more like the attitude of the garment. It's it could be full sleeve, fully covered, but you're feeling hot, you're feeling gorgeous, you're feeling confident. And, and there's a feminist quality to it, because there's that innovation and newness, and originality is always sexy, basically. So there was this originality that came about to almost inventing a new language to the old tradition of sari. And that still excites me today. And what has happened is now my sari gowns have become like sari gown lehengas, or sari gown, sari gown trousers, or there are lots of different hybrids. And now literally every designer has sari gowns, and everybody just whatever does it. So it's, it's become a staple in everyone's wardrobe. And yeah, so it's evolved a lot, and I'm very passionate about having a cultural dialogue and giving something innovative to the clients. And it's not just the form of the sari, then it becomes the detailing, the embroidery. It's like, okay, fine, if I'm doing Zardozi, it should not look like Zardozi, because Zardozi has looked the same for, again, millions of years. How am I a designer if I'm not able to mix Zardozi with Japanese bugle beads and mix it with certain thread work? And I don't have to explain what I'm doing. It's like I'm a mixed media artist. So I'm an artist who will do my own artworks, get inspired by Art Nouveau, or I will do my own abstract artworks, and not, so I don't like definitions of design. That's why my work is so boundless. And that's why it has this feeling of infinity, which is very important to me.
So yes, of course, we've seen you after you started the sari gowns. I think post that, a plethora of designers have been replicating that, and it's sad to see that. But nevertheless, you created a trend in the industry. So yes,
It's okay. It always happens.
It always happens.
It always happens. Yeah, it's fine.
So Gaurav, in fact, we've seen you dressing a lot of celebrities, like you mentioned in the beginning. Vogue, L'Officiel, Elle, Nylon are some of the publications which have carried your brand on the covers and editorials. And there are a large number of celebrities who are often endorsing you by wearing your garments on the red carpet events. Who has been your most challenging celebrity to dress, and do you have a favorite?
I think sometimes clients are more challenging than celebrities for sure. So
You really think so?
I'm just joking. Depends. I'm just joking.
But you'll have to be candid about it, and you have to name the celebrity, because this is a private space and it's not going anywhere.
I've never had, the thing is, I think I have, people have always been really nice to me. Yeah? Like I think I bring that out in people. I'm just so truthful and honest, and I'll be like, okay, I can do this, I can't do that. So they'll be like, okay, fine, this makes sense and this doesn't.
That's
but yes,
politically
of course,
correct.
No, of course, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen celebrities become bigger and bigger and bigger. Like today, to dress up Deepika for a red carpet look, which we did recently, that IFA gown, which got a lot of positive and negative press and things like that, which was that purple gown with that big trail, etc., with feathers and my crystal embroidery and all of that kind of jazz. It's a process, because Deepika has earned that stature in the world of stardom and fashion as well. Like she's literally making statements at Cannes and at Met Gala, and she's grown so much as a woman and as a person. Not just a woman as a person, she's grown as a personality. She's such a large personality, and she commands it now. And the thing is, and it excites me. It excites me when I'm playing on a higher wavelength ground, and so it is cooler, and I find it fun dressing Deepika for sure. Then Aditi is a very, very dear friend of mine, and I love dressing her. I'm obsessed with her because she's almost like a fairy. She's like an enchanted character, and I love like dressing Ayushmann, Ranveer, Karan, Shahid, because these are all cool men who are also challenging in the sense I find them cool because they are also having a new. I like dressing people who are challenging culture, who are having a cultural dialogue. So all of these men, like what Ayushmann wears, the outlandish clothes that he's able to wear of mine. I'm not saying that my grooms will start wearing those clothes, but I think it's like about, until unless we do it, we'll always be stuck in that same black tuxedo, or we'll always be stuck in that same red lehenga. So until unless we start doing something new, how will our mind evolve? So I feel like I had Suzy Menkes had come to my store a while back in Bombay. Suzy Menkes is the editor-at-large of Condé Nast of Vogue worldwide, and she's a fashion idol in the world. And she said, like, she looked at my thing and she's like, what is Indian about it? And there was that dialogue happening. And I said, but if culture is like river, it has to move. Otherwise, it just becomes stagnant. So I'm talking about celebrity challenging wise. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody loves me, and I love a lot of people. The people I don't dress, I don't love them. So it's like I say no to a lot of celebrities.
Okay.
A lot of them.
You've very conveniently gotten away with this question.
No, because I'm just saying, okay, I can tell you what celebrities I don't dress. If you ask me, I'll say, okay, I don't dress them because I don't find them cool.
Never mind.
It's as simple as that.
So I'll take it up with Devangi. Devangi, we have a question for you here. So with the advent of artificial intelligence, a number of industries, including the jewelry, are using it to give a more personalized shopping experience online. We have companies like Style Dome, which lets you artificially try on the jewelry. Do you think a breakthrough like this in the fashion industry is expected soon?
Yeah, actually, so I think that this entire try it on virtually feature has been sort of dabbled with globally for some time now. It's a little bit harder, honestly, with clothing than for jewelry. And I think the applications of it are still not fully fleshed out when it comes to things like couture and or made to measure occasion wear. It can work. It works very well for brands which have a standard measurements across all their products. So, for example, for t-shirts, it could work well, right? But how it'll fit you, it won't necessarily show it well when it comes to garments like ours yet. However, when it comes to artificial intelligence, we have sort of been dabbling with this entire field for some time. And we use machine learning in order to digitally. So in order to, when you're browsing, basically the website learns what you like looking at, and then it shows you more of that. So that kind of machine learning, or like you may also like what you can pair this product with. So like you have a particular product and you have bought certain accessories in the past. Based on that purchase history, we will suggest to you accessories that would work well with your garments. Similarly, we have another feature where basically our homepage looks different in various countries based on the purchase history of that particular region. So like the United States buys a lot more like heavy garments. Their average basket size is a lot higher compared to India. In India, things like kurtis and tunics and all do really well. So what you see in your browsing journey is slightly different based on that machine learning process.
What software are you doing that on with the different countries?
So we do it in house actually. We have a tech team.
With your UI developers.
Yeah, we have a tech team. Yeah.
Okay.
That should be
I'll
very
call you
nice.
separately about it. I'm launching mine very soon.
Yeah.
That'll be quite interesting for a lot of us, you know. I mean, in the given time and scenario, we don't know when it's going to come back to normal. So this will be great. So, Gaurav, of course, you earned the name and fame at a very early age. And it requires constant perseverance and also innovation. What advice can you give to the budding designers?
I think there is no shortcut to hard work at all. You have to work really, really hard. You have to have like a tunnel vision towards what you want in life, and towards, you have to always constantly have that tunnel vision. And one has to really find themselves, which is a very painstaking process. And I sometimes feel like being a true artist or being a true designer is almost like a very spiritual, meditative process. And it's a very hard process. It is literally like spiritual growth in your life, because you have to go into certain dark sides and light sides of yourself to really discover something new and original to offer. So I think one has to be ready for growth in many aspects of their life if they want to be a true artist or a true designer. They have to be very tunnel visioned. They have to be very hardworking, have that killing instinct, and strive to be more and more original, and try not to get so influenced by trends or by people or by opinions, and have your own form your own opinions. That's what will make them a good designer.
Gaurav, can you also take us behind the fashion shows? What goes on? Of course, the magic happens on the stage, but they're from models to makeup artists, hairdressers. There's much more to it, you know, by the end of it.
I love it all. It's so much fun. It's like I'm just dying to do a show right now. And I think we're going to be there's a digital fashion week coming up soon, next month as well. And we'll be next month, or it'll be launching, I think, in August, September. And that's like India's first digital fashion week, the couture week that's going to come up. Yes, a lot goes into fashion. Fashion is not just designers. There's buyers, there's merchandisers, there's business people, there is, there's retailers, there's art. There's so much art and design around fashion. The makeup industry is huge around fashion itself, and that has its own thing. Then there are choreographers, there's models, and there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of things, but it's really especially in a country like India, it's like it is a one big family. Like if I go to Fashion Week in London or Paris, I would not see different designers sitting for each other's shows. But in India, we literally all of us are friends and we go for each other's show. Like Anamika and I sometimes even show together, or Rajesh and I are really good friends, or Sabya and I are friends, or Gudda and I talk to each other, wish each other birthday, or their Gudda was at my house the other day. So it's like we're all, because it's such a young, beautiful industry. Indian fashion industry is only 25, 30 years old. That's why we're all like so warm and so together with each other as well.
Do you ever get nervous before the fashion show, and do you have a routine to nerve-wracking moments?
I think I've done so much of it now that I don't get nervous. I'm just excited. I'm constantly hyper. I'm a hyper person. So in the sense of I can't, but like there's obviously that little bit of nervousness, but I think I've just kind of mastered the art of like now organizing the whole thing. My teams know what they have to do, this and that and the other, but they will be like, okay, maybe a zip broke at the backstage on a model and everything. It's like, I think it would have affected me a lot more 10 years back. Today, I'll be like, okay, fine, let that garment be, let the other garment go. So in the sense of, I think you grow with time. And, you learn to see the things in a more macro perspective. Even though I'm like a anal micromanager as well, and I'm trying to work on that. Like all of us are constantly. But but I think it's good to be nervous as well. It's like if you actually lose the nervousness, then you've lost the childlike innocence to your to your discipline. We've stopped calling our work discipline because we used to call our works disciplines earlier.
Great. So I have a question for Devangi. Devangi, how do you think it is managing these large format stores with real estate in India, and of course even the rentals soaring high year after year? How do you work around with these expenses? Can you let us take us through it, because I'm sure there are plenty of multi-designer store owners here and designers. So we'd like you to share a few business insights.
Yeah. So, we as an organization have been super bullish on technology from the get-go. We were one of the first retailers to have a fully integrated stores where, the software is integrated and everything like that. So we are very particular in that, a lot of brands say that I'm going to open 100 stores in a year, or like I'm going to open like 200 stores in 5 years. So we've been very selective about our physical retail strategy because, as you said, it is definitely very expensive. It is capital intensive. So we've sort of tried to balance online and offline retail and create like this omni-channel strategy that uses the advantage in both online and offline. So our stores, each of them are in different areas. So we have 3 stores in Mumbai and 3 stores in Delhi. And we try and make sure that the merchandise that is there in every store is actually completely different. It's not like you go to any other store and it's identical to each other. The idea is that we're curating the merchandise specifically just for that store. So there's a ton of research and analytics that actually goes into what you see when you walk into the store physically, as well as online, of course, what you're seeing. And that is sort of what determines the profitability of the store ultimately. So one has to be very judicious in what one puts on the rack, because there is limited rack space at the end of the day. And in terms of real estate, of course, this lockdown has been a challenging time. I mean, everybody's stores have been closed for a large portion of it. And now, they are open, but of course, footfalls are significantly less than before. So for us, it's just leveraging our relationships with our clients and digitalizing even our stores to make sure that we're reaching out to our customers consistently through WhatsApp, through calls. We're offering, home shopping. We're offering shopping through WhatsApp. So for, for brands who don't have an online platform yet, who may be watching, I think a really wise thing to do is actually to just shoot all your pieces on a dummy or on a mannequin and just get it across to your clients through WhatsApp and just keep that relationship going. And that's ultimately what ensures that you have some sales through. So we did have sales through the lockdown months and online, of course, as well. So I think that's really important. In terms of rentals, I think renegotiating rentals with landlords is going to be key. And most brands are doing this, and just working on creating like a sort of arriving at a compromise which benefits both parties, because it is a very difficult time, and ultimately everybody has to you have to take your staff along with you and ensure that they ride out this difficult time. So it's just sort of coming up with new and creative ways in order to make sure that your sales are happening, that that you're reaching out to your customers, you're staying connected, and lowering your costs so that you're cost effective at the end of the day.
So Devangi, what is by what percent has your market been hit? I mean, roughly. So what pre-lockdown and post now? Is it like a
so during the lockdown, of course, all 6 of our stores were completely closed. And we recently opened all 6 of them. And initially we were operating them on alternate days. And then, based on the guidelines, of course, that each of the different governments were giving. Online, we saw a big dip during the months of April and May, but we saw a huge uptick in June. So actually now what we're observing is that everybody is like clients are really looking for a good value buy, and discounting has become, fortunately or unfortunately, they're like 2 sides of the coin, but it has sort of become a reality right now.
That's
so
true,
we do a big luxury, we do a big luxury sale.
Discount?
So we actually do a big luxury
actually
sale twice a year, and so Gaurav, I think you're doing a sale as well, right?
So we had put up to 70% on all our 5 stores are open. Our 2 stores in Delhi, 1 in Bombay, 1 in Kolkata, 1 in Hyderabad. All our 5 stores have been open now for the whole of June. Yes, they all opened beginning of June, and we were on sale for a while. And now we also still have some parts of the store on sale, and now we even offering, like on fresh product and fresh orders also, we're offering like a certain percentage of discount because it has kind of, because the thing is, it is the time to kind of, and we understand the customer's requirement, the mindset right now, and only when they really, because everybody who's coming to us is literally has wanted that Gaurav Gupta piece for a long time, and if they're getting it on a 10, 20, 30% discount, they want to get it right now. And you never know, because we don't know, we might stop the sale, like we would be stopping the sale obviously like a few weeks or at least a month from now, etc. Right now the sale is not announced that much, but the clients know that there are certain products on sale in all the stores. And our stores are also literally, I'm doing like calls with my retail teams and my merchandising teams more regularly, understanding the trends, understanding the trends of buying, trends of how clients are approaching things. And there's like each one of my girls has an iPad and iPhone. It's like an army of things. And she's literally like doing video calls with the clients, and we are literally sanitizing. If clients have come to the store, there is that UV light thing which we take over the garments, so that, and then we literally had, like the other day there was this bride who came to the store with a mother, and the mother had temperature. We had to say like, no, sorry, you can't come in. So in the sense, it feels odd to tell a customer to like, no, you can't come into our store, but it's a reality today. So we are being very, 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 very careful, and at the same time trying to be very positive about it. And we are actually being very flexible right now. Like somebody can buy like a small size garment in my sale, and we are able to alter it to a large size body as well today, which was impossible for me to even think that earlier. But I think we've become very flexible these days. So it's a time. I think these kind of times calls for lots of innovation. And I think people who innovate, people who survive through these times, because there's going to be a lot of correction in the market as well. Like, for example, there's so many stores in Shahpur and South Ex, etc., that are shut as well now because of, or different markets, different places, because of, the rentals, because things like we know that people like Azza and Gaurav Gupta will survive through this and will be able to give that service and give that thing to the clients and everything like that. And, they would not just survive, but thrive through this, because we will innovate, we will adjust ourselves, and we will go through these times. And, but a lot of our, let's say, copycat brand, or a lot of brands who did not have a proper business structure or strategy, very sad to say, will not survive this time. And some brands will have to fold in this time, which is already happening. There's, Chanel just filed for bankruptcy in USA, which is a huge blow to the fashion industry. It's like we are living in very, very, very different times right now.
Yes.
So it's like, it's like John Lewis has closing down. There's just like, it's kind of crazy brands and crazy news happening internationally. So it will be soon enough that there are quite a few designers, especially I feel really bad for some of the younger designers who would not probably be able to survive this time.
But
Because it's
at
a lot
work,
for
it's
us to handle. It's like I employ 400 people. I have to pay them a salary. How will I get them back? Will I get them from the villages? And then how do I run my stores? The rentals and, just it's the whole, and my management. It's a lot of things. And it's like, you have to handle them like a family. At the same time, you want to give your client the best service. So it's at the end of the day, yeah. But we are lucky that we are having at least some sustainable sales during
Going
this
on,
time
right.
period. Yeah.
So Devangi, coming back to you, do you see your company also diversifying into the pre-owned and rented market in fashion? Because we do see a lot of people now, particularly in these times, I think people would not like to spend as much. They would like to reserve their cash. Do you find this market growing in future?
So, actually when I was moving back, I had really explored this rental market and done a lot of research into it because I found it super interesting. And at that time, Rent the Runway had really blown up in the US. And it was doing really, really well.
Devangi, would you rent an outfit for yourself?
I mean, I have Azar.
Aditi, would you do it?
So the only thing though is that in India, I think there still is this little bit of hesitation when it comes to, even though, hand-me-downs is so popular with your family. Like I'll take my sister's kids'
I
clothes
just
anytime.
don't trust anyone else's hygiene level. It's as simple as that.
No,
There is this fear in India.
Devangi, but I would also like to say that we're not talking about the upper middle or the
No, I completely agree. And there are businesses which have started, which do this. Like there was quite a few. There was Fly Road, Stage 3.
Middle.
Yeah, of course, for mass. In fact, I had actually done research into this exact idea. The only concern is like scalability because of this hesitation, and also because ultimately, like the designer wear that you can offer at rent can't be scaled to that level. Like a lot of the companies who have actually started are struggling with scalability. So a few of them had actually approached us for products because this getting enough products online is actually critical, and making sure that they fit the customer when they get there. So because Indian garments are not the same as a dress. In a dress you have size 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. In Indian garments it's like blouse thoda, like you want to tailor it a little bit. You want the little things that like to do alterations, and to keep altering the same garment
actually with customizations basically. Everybody, even if you're getting a garment from your local boutique for 10,000 rupees or 20, 30, whatever, that kind of thing, you want it to be fit to your size, and that's the challenge I think in that rent model for sure. I think accessories being rented out could be a successful, more successful.
I think that started as well. Just right now with COVID, I'm sure people are too scared to
exactly. Like how there was Rent a Bag on Sex and the City, remember, like that?
Bag Borrow Steal, it was called. I remember.
Exactly. So I think that kind of works still.
So I think that'll answer to a lot of questions which people would have. I can go on, Gaurav and Devangi, but maybe I'll just take up one question. I don't know if I have time, maybe 2-3 minutes. But I would ask you, what is next for Gaurav Gupta? Tell us a little something about your next collection and the inspiration behind it.
Oh God, again that question. So
I think that's repetitive. I'll move on to something else.
I'm joking. It's like I feel like I'm in like deja vu because it's like I haven't been asked that question for a while now because of this lockdown. My next collection is literally going to be now like the autumn-winter collection that we've been making. It is very glamorous. It's very Gaurav Gupta. It's going to be very innovative. I don't know what can I say, and I'm actually designing it right now as well from home. The new couture collection, which is going to launch next month as well. And I think we are trying to make 2 different segments to it. One which is a very statement Gaurav Gupta bridal gown or that kind of a thing, and the other segment is more bridal, Like we have this whole range of chikankari lehengas, which have become really popular because they are they're very traditional, but then they have the Gaurav Gupta quirks to it. So brides are able to wear it for their sangeet or actually even for their wedding day. And, we give the double. So we are getting a bit more simpler in a certain way, and then still keeping the other line of our extreme things. And then obviously our basic, beautiful, not basic, like our really newer innovations to our sari gowns and saris with all different kind of forms and the really cool versions to it. And our menswear is going crazy, like in the sense we have such cool Bangala, Sherwanis. We're literally doing the Gaurav Gupta groom as well right now. And we're decoding that. And that has all its new, our menswear is kind of a new global language in menswear as well. Like we literally have the coolest rappers in LA wearing us right now. Or like all the Indian actors wearing us right now. And the grooms are wearing us for every reception and cocktail for sure. But now they're starting to wear our Bangalas with our sculpted techniques or with our pin tucks, etc., or our sherwanis as well there as well. But there are these hidden techniques which only the guys will realize when they go and see it. And then our jewelry, of course, is fantastic, and we are expanding that line more and more. We are our jewelry is a partnership with Occasions Fine Jewelry, which is Gaurav Gupta Occasions Fine Jewelry, and it's all a fine diamond jewelry. And I was just very irritated when I used to see my brides wearing our amazing gowns, and they'll wear like the most hideous diamond necklace or earrings, and it'll look like a copy of some other hideous diamond necklace or jewelry. So it'll be like, I'll just be like, what is the thought process behind it? So I had to design jewelry, and it came very naturally to me. Sometimes you literally have 8,000 diamonds into a feather necklace, which looks like wings, and everything is flexible. It is a birth of a new couture jewelry aesthetic, like our main brand as well. So it's something where you see diamonds dangling. There's a whole science and maths and technology behind our jewelry, which is, I'm obsessively obsessed with it. And the very new thing is going to be the launch of our online selling website soon, like very soon, in 2-3 weeks, which is going to be huge for us. And we're treating that as not just our 6th store, but like amalgamation of all our stores, because it literally has, you can literally book your appointments there. You can do your online shopping. You can do your video calls. You can do everything there. So we're making that very virtually friendly and very, very customer friendly.
Great. So we're looking forward to this, Gaurav. Like I said, it could be an endless discussion with the two of you. But unfortunately, because of paucity of time, I will have to hand it over to Aarti. There'll be lots of questions which people are willing to ask. So I won't hold them back. I mean, I'll open it to them. So first, before that, Aarti, may I request you to take over now?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Aarti.
Thank you, Gaurav, and thank you, Devangi. It was a pleasure being in conversation with the two of you, and thank you, Aarti, for having me here.
Great.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much.
Aditi.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, Devangi. That was like a wonderfully insightful session. I would now like to hand it over to Shubha, who will take some questions from the audience. Gaurav, Devangi, can we do some questions from the audience?
Sure.
Okay, over to you, Shubha.
So it was indeed a very enlightening and informative session. Thank you, Gaurav and Devangi, for your valuable insight on the current fashion trends. And Aditi, thank you so much for moderating the session so beautifully. So before you guys are flooded with questions, Gaurav and Devangi, I would like to ask you something that has been on my mind. So they say that fashion fades, but style is eternal. So Gaurav and Devangi, could you describe your style in one word for me?
Devangi, you go first.
In just one word.
Yeah.
Can I do 2?
Yeah, of course. You can go
Classic and
as
couture.
well.
Classic and couture.
Classic and couture. Lovely. You yourself look so classic and like elegant.
Yeah, so I have 2 extremes. Like I either love, I love everything classic, and then I love over the top couture, like big ruffles and like just very big, larger than life outfits, like Gaurav's.
Lovely.
Yeah. I have some classic outfits too, guys.
You will have to show us to prove that. I doubt.
No, I'm telling you, there's so many classic outfits. Have you not seen my classics?
No, I agree. Like a lot of the, I mean, they're key pieces that one needs in one's wardrobe. I agree on that.
There are sari gowns and
Yeah, especially the sari gowns.
And saris and even my simpler gowns, etc. There's lots of classic things that are there. They're I know, like, yeah, they are there. It's just that the experimental things, they just take your eye so much. Don't see the classic.
Yeah.
It's like, but I have like the quieter girls going and getting the classic ones as well. So my style, I would just say is very explorative and curious. I don't like to be defined in a box. It's undefinable.
Yeah, that defines you so well. So I would now request our Vice Chairperson Pooja Gupta to please ask a question.
Hi, Gaurav.
Hi,
Gaurav. I somehow happen to own a multi-designer store in Kanpur and would like to host you post-COVID very soon. Now that you've spoken so much about the collection, I've been a huge fan of the collection myself and would definitely like to have you on board of Amira very soon.
for sure. I'm sure we'll be there.
Yes. So we already know that you think out of the box. You don't think regular things. That's your key forte has been. You just don't think regularly. So where sustainability has been concerned, I want to ask you two questions. One is like, how do Gaurav Gupta rate himself where sustainable branding and sustainable fashion is concerned? Point one. We have already seen your waste to wear campaign where you have used a packaging thing beautifully. I must congratulate you for that. And
Thank you.
It's such an innovative and a beautiful idea. Can you just throw some light on that whole idea?
So, to be honest with you, I'm a very, I'm personally very passionate towards the environment, and it has been irritating me. I'm literally one of those people who would go to my friends who own like Forest Essentials or lots of different brands and say like, you can't use plastic and you can't do this and you can't do that, because I've also registered like a Gaurav Gupta Earth Foundation, which I want to get active towards properly. And sustainability, I think a lot of times sustainability in a place like India, especially by designers, is like an abuse term, and they tend to like use non-sustainable fabrics, cottons and non-Indian things and call it sustainable. And for me, the authenticity in sustainability is very, very important. So I think just the very fact that we are starting to use cruelty-free silk now, which is like, literally a lot of you would not realize, like a lot of silk that you wear, those caterpillars are not becoming butterflies. So you are literally killing so many butterflies with the kind of silk that we wear in this country most of the time. So it's like really understanding what is sustainability and what would it take. And what has irritated me most about sustainability is plastic, because we think that the world plastic is getting recycled, but 97% of the world plastic does not get recycled. Even the European plastic gets dumped into the Asian oceans, etc. So I think this innovation around taking ocean plastic, we even have technology like, okay, this has come from this fridge in the ocean, and you can have the QI code and you can say like, this is the fridge which is turning into this garment bag of mine. So, and then taking into and making everyday objects out of it. So what really used to irritate me is that I used to go around my factory and be like, oh my God, there's so much plastic, and I'm just getting, because I feel so bad for plastic, and I love snorkeling and diving and seeing fish, and like I become one with them. Like it's literally like that. And so I'm like, all that fish is eating plastic. And so I think it's not a choice. It's very, very necessary for all of us to stop using plastic. Like especially never buy a Bisleri bottle. Always carry your water bottles. Always, single-use plastic is like a crime today. And I think if you're able to recycle and reuse things, that is the best way to go about it. And so that's where I'm not saying my brand is sustainable, but I think my brand is not, my clothes are not such that end up in landfills. like a lot of mass clothing or a lot of bad quality, poor quality clothing. My clothes are such that get hand-me-downs. I know a lot of my clients, they tend to give my clothes to their nieces or daughters or friends, etc., and then they get hand-me-down art, literally, and they don't end up in a waste bin somewhere. So I think by consuming lesser and lesser fast fashion, by conscious of the fabrics that one is using, and by not using or recycling plastic is what my brand is for.
I can actually feel how passionate you are about the whole drive, and it is actually truly very inspiring. Now I would request Ritu Sibal to come up with a question. Yeah, Gaurav.
Plastic, just
Gaurav,
don't use it.
Can you come again?
I'm saying all of you should just stop using plastic. Like, you have to make that choice. If there is a shampoo coming in a plastic bottle, say, no, I want to get the shampoo which is coming in a glass bottle. You have to start making that choice. Otherwise, we guys are just talking about it, and we guys are not doing anything about it.
I completely agree to that.
Yeah.
So I would now request our member Ritu Sibal to come forward for a question. Over to you, Ritu.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Gaurav. Hi, Devangi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So what a lovely discussion this was. My question for you guys is that as we just discussed, that all the stores and the fashion houses, everybody is going on sale, promoting sales. So do you think this is confusing the customer? And also, how do you avoid confusion between each other?
It's a very fine balance to tread. I think ultimately right now, the main goal for everyone is sort of just to sustain sales, because the Indian fashion industry is very expansive. It's not just what you're seeing in terms of these are the designers. It's also hundreds and thousands of their karigars, and it's an entire ecosystem that's sort of operating, which was shut down more or less for a large part of 2 months. So
True.
I do think that it is really important for us to encourage their livelihood and ultimately to drive sales so that the money trickles down and supports their livelihood. So yes, I think a lot of garments are on sale, but fortunately or unfortunately, that is the reality that we do need to face right now. It's the only thing people are buying. When it comes to certain brands which never discount, people are still buying those, and then I think for a majority of the other brands, they are going on sale worldwide. So like say an LV doesn't go on sale, people may still be buying that. But every other brand that goes on sale, they are discounting worldwide. I don't think it's going to be forever and ever. It is going to go back to the way it was. But there is another big advantage to this, which is that a lot of people are stuck with inventory, which may or may not even be in fashion at the end of all of this, right? So you might have bought something for an occasion, or designers have created it based on projected sales. So they're stuck with that inventory at the end of the day. And I think sale is a great way to liquidate it and ultimately to get that money back. So I think there are negatives to it, but there are also big positives to it. And for customers, it's like a great value, right? Like, who doesn't want an amazing brand at 70% off?
True. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your answer, Devangi. So now I would like to invite Sonal for the next question. Over to Sonal, please. Sonal? Hello, Sonal? And I'm so glad to know that Gaurav doesn't off. So I would love to buy a Gaurav Gupta outfit.
I think our sales are going to get over in the next 2-3 weeks for sure.
So I better do it quickly. So
now you can get in touch with any numbers on our Instagram, and they'll follow it up.
I am a great fan of your drapes.
Thank you. I'm
really a great fan. I love your styles. I mean, it's my dream to wear your outfit. So one day I will show.
Just get the ones on 70%. I don't know how many of those are left.
I will check out soon.
So the thing,
Sonal?
thing, and I think the weddings are starting in November, December. So I think it is only the matter of sustenance to over the literally next 1 more month or next 2-3 weeks more, and then the sales will start diminishing as our market is already. I can see the improvement in the market.
Yeah.
That's really nice. That's good.
So I think there's some connection problem with Sonal. Should we invite Nalini to ask the next question?
Hi.
And the Gaurav Gupta garments are not based on trend. So you can wear them even after 20 years.
Yes, totally agree.
Hi Gaurav, hi Devangi. It's
Hi.
been a pleasure hearing you both, and I can just, be glued to this place. Can one hit the Lakme Fashion Week at 50?
Sorry?
Can anyone hit the Lakme Fashion Week at 50?
Can anyone hit the Lakme Fashion Week? What do you mean?
I mean, can...
Like walk the runway?
Yeah, not walk, yeah, but can exhibit,
I think
I would like to...
She wants to see that, she's a designer herself, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And at the age of 50,
You can do it at 80, doesn't matter. Age is irrelevant.
I'm a designer. I graduated from SNDT years ago and chose to prioritize my family. But now that I'm over with responsibilities, I would like to spread my wings and fly. So can you please both advise me the way forward to a prestigious fashion show where I could be, ready in the next 2 years?
Gaurav, could you get it? Your question basically was that
It's why don't you put a collection together? There is like, do what common sense would bring to you. Ask yourself the questions like, how would you actually go about it? Sit down and write a business plan. Sit down and write a proper, like, even if it's a basic business plan, like how would you make your clothes? Where will you make them? What are the costing of those? Where would you like to sell them? How will you sell them? And it's not, you don't have to be dependent on Lakme Fashion Week to, I don't know if your brand is already alive and it's kicking, etc. So, and even if it is, and when it is, when you've already started selling and already started making clothes and you have that cycle going, is apply to Lakme Fashion Week. Just go and call them up and just do it. Or like, us or friends and, you show us your work and if you like it, we'll recommend you there.
Okay. Devangi, I'm a huge fan of your stores, and whenever in Mumbai, I would always visit the other stores.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. I hope to see you there on the other side of all of this. And I just want to say that age is completely a number. I mean, Ray Kroc started McDonald's when he was above 60 years old. So, I mean, I don't think that age is relevant. You can do anything.
These days, ages, we are all going through age reversal.
That puts me on a real high, and that gives me flight to my wings. Thank you so much.
Yes, completely. We should all always be flying.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. I think we have Sonal again online. She wanted to ask a question, and we'll do that as the last question from the audience. Sonal, are you there?
Yeah. I think she's on mute.
Please ask Sonal. Ask your question. I think there's some audio issues.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's wrap it up, Shubha.
Yeah. So that was some lovely questions from the audience and some really fun answers from the both of you. Thank you so much for this lovely evening. I would now request our chairperson Aarti Gupta to please hand over the green certificate to Gaurav and Devangi. I'd request the IT team to please show the certificate.
Devangi and Gaurav, thank you so much for coming on our Flow platform and sharing your ideas and your journey. You both,
this is so lovely. Thank you so much.
You both have been truly inspirational, unconventional in your own sense, and it was such a treat for all of us to hear you today. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present you with a green certificate. So the idea is that we plant a tree in your name in the forest of Sundarban, and you can track this tree with that little certificate number at the bottom, and you can track it as it grows. can we see Gaurav's certificate as well, please? And you can track this tree and remember Flo Kanpur fondly, and remember this conversation fondly as and
It's really,
remember
I've got a few trees now. I think a few trees have been planted in my thing now. It's so sweet.
very soon
I
you
love
have
it.
a list in your name, Gaurav.
I would love that. I'll just live in.
Okay, so can I just now request our Vice Chair, Pooja Gupta, to give the vote of thanks. And once again, thank you so much, Devangi and Gaurav. It was such a pleasure. And I'm sure everyone's going a little bit wiser from this webinar. Over to you, Pooja.
Yeah.
Thank you
What
for
a
having me.
session today it has been, truly inspiration in all ways, Passion, to me, passion to me is all about something that comes from within. And it was an absolute delightful session and conversation today, and your journey about passion today. It helped us all to understand how the fashion industry is ready to reset and reshape itself in the coming months. My deepest gratitude to Gaurav Gupta for joining us today and giving us an insight into his fashion world. It was really, really inspiring and motivating for all of us to hear you talk about so many things, which has been your perspective, your vision, even about sustainability. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to definitely incorporate it in my store too. We sincerely thank Devangi Parekh to be with us here and throwing light on the e-commerce business module, which is the need of an hour. The new normal calls for digital marketing, digital shopping, and you have been a pioneer, and there could have been nobody better than you to guide us in this whole journey. A big thank you to my dear friend Aditi Parekh for her effortless moderating this show, and she has done it so beautifully. Thank you so much, Aditi, for taking out time for Flo Kanpur. Thank you, Shubha Agrawal, for beautifully and flawlessly comparing the whole show for us. Thank you, my dear members, for Pan India for joining us. Thank you, our sponsors, Balencia Socks, Lohia Court, Archnox for sponsoring our event. Without you, nothing was possible. Last but not the least, thank you to our media and to our Flo members who have always been so encouraging in all our events. Thank you, everyone. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Devangi.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Devangi. Thank you, Aarti. It was a pleasure.
Have fun. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Pooja.
Bye, Aditi.
Bye.
Thank you, Shubha. Thank you, Aarti.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Devangi.
Bye.
Bye.
Can I request the committee to stay back? Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was such a pleasure.
Hi, Aditi. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Long time, yeah?
Yeah, pleasure being here. Thank you, Aarti, for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. I mean, of course, anything for friends, anytime. So that's all right.
Lovely.